Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gospel Tech Podcast. My name is Nathan Sutherland with Flint and Iron, and this is Gospel Tech, a ministry of Flint and Iron. Today, we are going to be having a conversation about how do we find some tech wins. I don't know about your family, but I know that in the last couple weeks, it feels like tech is becoming more and more a part of the way we just do life. It's how we talk with our friends, our family, have our church, educate our children, right? It's in there. So as we're trying to kind of weigh through, well, how am I dealing with tech in a hopeful way? And where am I just afraid of tech and that's negative and I just need to own it and use it? And where is my tech maybe not actually good? We're going to find some ways to find some tech wins. It's how we're doing this. So we need to not be just scared of tech because it plugs into a wall or has a screen, but be really intentional about using it. Today, we're actually going to talk about how do we help it with some relationships, conversations, using it to expand our abilities, our amazement with creation. And if it's out of balance in any way, 3 really practical tips to actually help bring it back, reel it in, and make tech wait for us, use it intentionally to our good and God's glory so that we can love God and use tech. So with that, let's jump into the conversation for today. Excited to get it going. Welcome to the Gospel Tech Podcast, a resource for parents who are feeling outpaced and overwhelmed as they raise children in a tech world. As an educator, parent, and tech user, I want to equip parents with the tools, resources, and confidence they need to raise kids who love God and use tech. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gospel Tech Podcast. My name is Nathan Sutherland. Thank you for joining us today. Gospel Tech is a ministry of Flint and Iron, a nonprofit Anna and I started 4 years ago, where we are focused on sparking positive purpose in young people. We got into this because we were both teachers. Anna taught she taught AP. I taught pre-AP. There you go. Taught AP English at a local high school, and I taught 8th grade language arts in a middle school. And we have since both stepped out of the classroom. Anna is full-time at home with our kiddos. Well, we're all kind of full-time at home with our kiddos. And then I am full-time with Flint and Iron. Anna is also the heart and soul of making things like this podcast work. So even when she can't be here, I assure you her fingerprints are all over this and you will hear that. If it sounds organized, that's because Anna has been a part of it. Wanted to thank you all for listening. Thank you to all of our listeners, the people who have rated, taken time to write a review. I'm an English teacher. I can make up words, I guess. And that's amazing blessing for us. It also helps people find us. So I've been getting contacted by people that found us on Spotify or iTunes or the Apple Podcast because you guys have rated us or reviewed us and given feedback. Thank you as well for those who have written us notes. Your encouragement, your questions, those are amazing. So you can reach out to us at flintandiron.org. Or you can just email me or Anna. That would be nathan@flintandiron.org or anna@flintandiron.org. Or you can find us on Instagram. It's @flintandiron. And on Facebook, it's @sparkingpurpose. You can just direct message us or send us an email. We would love to continue that conversation with us. Final piece will be this week, this coming Thursday, the April 9th. We are going to be hosting a live event, 30 minutes, 7 p.m. We're going to be answering the question, how do I know if my child's tech use is healthy? That is one of the top probably 5 or 6 questions we get. I put out a poll. That was the number 1 on just the poll of the top questions we get. So we're going to address that one first. It'll be a 30-minute live event. I think it stays on social media for 24 hours maybe afterwards, but what I'm excited for is we can actually get real-time feedback. So I'm going to be able to ask a question. You can write in answers. We can actually kind of make this a conversation and run it like a little mini workshop to help you in the season you're currently in, which is also what we're talking about today. So before I jump into the actual guts of today, I did want to just give a little update. So we are currently 3 weeks into quarantine in the state of Washington. What that looks like is the governor got on the news last night and said that this stay-at-home order we've got right now is going to last at least until May the 4th. And may the 4th also be with you. That's going to be a little bit nuts for those of us that are 3 weeks in and going, oh, we're doing all right. We're kind of hitting a stride. And then you're like, oh, we're not even halfway. Oh, no. That is a little bit of where I'm having to pray in right now because we are doing well. It's not actually even the homeschooling or any kind of the change of rhythm. It's the isolation from people that we love, right? My little buddy, 6-year-old Owen today, my son, was just at the point of tears because he wants to see his classmates, right? He wants to see his friends. He wants to hang out, and he likes brother and mom and dad, and that's all well and good, but there is just an amount of crazy. Anna carefully noted that I'm an Enneagram 7 in the show notes today, meaning I get energy from being around people. So when I'm sitting in my office by myself for days on end and I don't get social contact, makes Nathan a dull boy. So it is a little bit hard, and as we look at that, as we recognize what does that mean? How do we then find some tech wins? So that's actually what we're going to be talking about today. Today we are talking about our lives have been kind of flipped on their heads. Many of us are 3 weeks in looking back going, wow, I didn't really think we would have to be here. We're starting to learn how to homeschool. We're trying to run our jobs. Both parents are working, or we might be one parent at home making this work with our kids. And some of them are high schoolers all the way down to elementary. We have either a chunk of that or the whole gamut of young people in our home. And that is a lot for one person to take on. My teacher friends keep telling me this is the busiest they've ever been. They are having to make content in a new format to deliver to kids they don't get to see, which is like a sub-lesson. Sub-lessons are always worse to plan than your own lessons because you have to make it make sense to someone else's brain, not just your own. And in addition to that, you have your own kids who need to get taught. So I get that there's a lot on the plate. That's why today I want to come in not with some advice on how you need to fix yourself or, put tech back in a closet, but really to talk about kind of that idea that Andy Crouch, this author we've talked about from the TechWise family, we mentioned this book before. If you haven't read it, please get it. You might have some time to peruse through it. It's not a heavy read, but he talks a lot about putting tech in its proper place and this idea that technology is not what we fear. In previous podcasts and in the blogs off our flintaniron.org website, we've talked before about this idea of a reset. How does tech impact our relationships and responsibilities, our enjoyment, our sleep, our emotions, and our time? That idea of how do we gauge if our tech use is healthy is critical so that we can look at our tech and not feel shame or should on ourselves. Thank you, Brian Reynolds, for that. That idea that we aren't looking to, man, I should be doing these things, but instead I'm doing this, and we get overwhelmed and then we just quit. Instead, I want to look at how we can do what we're doing. And if we feel like we're out of control, we can reel it back in. We can reclaim some of that and really see where we're getting these tech wins. So let's talk about some tech wins you might be seeing here. And if you are looking for ways to get tech wins because you feel like you're just fighting the behemoth of tech, there's so much time and there's so little access to outside people and activities, this is the spot to be. The first one is we can cultivate and create real relationships and experiences. So actually here, let me run through them all and then I'll actually dive in. So the first is cultivate and create real relationships and experiences. Tech is amazing for that. And many of us have been actively doing that through our jobs and our work and our even just trying to stay in touch with grandparents. The second is to start great conversations. The third is tech win is to acquire skills and mastery of a domain, or really those things that are kind of the emblem of human culture. Tech can be awesome for that. It helps us cultivate awe for the created world, and we can use it intentionally and with care. Those are all ways we can establish tech wins. So when we look at the first one of cultivating and creating real relationships, we look at apps like Zoom, Marco Polo, Voxer, live streaming church, right? This way where we can actually develop our connection and our relationships with others in real ways. Our oldest, Owen, met with his teacher in his class today, and that was super sweet. But they all met online. You have a bunch of 5 and 6-year-olds, right? And they're all muted and showing each other their Legos or their new kitten that they just got, which was in our class, of course. One of the girls got a new kitten. Then everyone's like, I want a kitten. I didn't even know that was an option. But it was very sweet. It was really intentional, and it took about a half hour. She read a story. They all got to give their little updates. He felt very heard. He was super sad leading up to that because he hadn't been able to see his friends in a few weeks. And for him, school and structure and friend group is something he really values and draws comfort from. So that was really neat. I thank you, Zoom, for making that available. For me, I've been able to actually run a Bible study, meet with a group of former high school kids who are kind of out in life now and dealing with this. We've been able to meet once a week for each of those, and that's been great. Marco Polo, Anna stays in touch with a friend across an ocean and they are still friends. They actually have a back and forth where they share life together. I would say it's probably not the best way to establish a friendship, but because they've been good friends for years, that's something that can continue that friendship till a season when they can be in closer contact. Voxer is basically like leaving voicemails for people. And so Anna, with my sisters or with her good friends, she's able to Vox and just kind of leave them life updates when life allows her to. So it's not overly stimulating. It's not a huge feed of things you have to go through. There's no ads that they're pumping at you, but it allows you to kind of leave a slice of life kind of friendship. Again, long distance stuff typically, or friends who have lots of kids where you can't just sit down and have a cogent conversation all the time. And finally, the live stream. I don't know about you guys, but our live stream from church has been a blessing and a challenge, right? We are now the youth program and we are trying to be fed and we are lacking the relationship that generally goes with church. So those are awesome things when we can see that cultivates and grows those experiences. And really with our own families, it's okay to use technology as part of our relationship, right? We can play a fun game with our kids. We want to make sure that game is safe and sane. You can find those resources. If you want to know, is this game okay for my kid to play? You can find that on our website. I'm actually starting to do some reviews, but more than wanting to do a bunch of reviews for you, I actually have a process. There's a YouTube video. There's actually a PDF sheet that you can go through and answer this for yourself, because there are some games that are a lot of fun to play with your kid. They can be relational. They're a positive experience together, and then you can walk away and not make the video games the only thing you do together. We're going to pop some popcorn and watch classic movies with our kids, right? Mighty Ducks is coming up in our playlist because it's something we can do together. We haven't had time. We watched episode 4 and 5 of Star Wars because Dad loves Star Wars and my boys were willing to sit through it because we have the time. So you can use some of this technology for a win for your family to build those relationships and make it about the relationship, not just about the escape. The second way we can have a tech win is to have great conversations. For many of us, right, homeschool, it's worn off. all the shininess has gone. And so now you can use Zoom for a play date, which is something we've tried, where the boys will have like a build challenge with Legos. So today's, build a boat and you have to try to make it float. And then they'll do that on a Zoom call with a friend while the moms talk and catch up. Can be the dads too, but in our case, it was the moms. It's a great idea. If you want to try that yourself, you can go for it. We do our community. So when we have great conversations, we actually do our community meeting instead of meeting together. We've done it 3 times now where we've actually met over Zoom, which it's awkward. Like it has weird things. But if someone buys the membership for Zoom, which is $15 a month, you can get $3 from each family in your community or whatever. It allows you to break into breakout groups. And so we actually do like group meeting and then split. And you can actually do like one-on-one, like couple to couple, which is awesome. And if we really wanted to, and everyone had their own smartphone, we could actually do men meeting and women meetings separately. Like you could split off for 25 minutes and then come back. So again, great conversations can be had. I would not encourage this to be the only way we communicate, but in these seasons of isolation, it's a cool option. Marco Polo, which is a way that I connect with a friend in Europe. And Anna connects with friends locally and kind of gives SOS shout outs when she's feeling completely locked up. Unlike Voxer, lets you see a face, and has been a great way for the ladies to share prayer requests and to. I personally like Marco Polo better than Voxer because it lets me see a face. And for me, as an Enneagram 7, that is important. I do want to know that that's a person, and seeing the face and kind of the expression that goes with the voice does help me. So, those are just ways to have these great conversations, and podcasts are as well. We can listen to podcasts. We can also share them. Anna has been loving the Jenny Allen's Made for This podcast and Fierce Marriage with Ryan and Selena Frederick. Finds those very encouraging. We'll pass those along to her friends and then pass them to me, and we'll listen to them together even when we get a chance to be in the same spot. Not as many car trips right now, so a lot of our co-podcasting has gone away for this season. In addition to Fierce Marriage, a personal favorite of mine, would also be This Cultural Moment by John Mark Comer and Mark Sayers out of Portland, Bridgetown Church. It's not for everyone, but basically talking about what does it look like to live in a post-Christian culture, and how do we do that with love and with grace, empowered by the Holy Spirit and expecting renewal. So if you're looking for something else to start a conversation, I would encourage This Cultural Moment in addition to Fierce Marriage and Jenny Allen's made for this podcast. The third way for a tech win is to acquire skills and masteries, things that help us be great at stuff that humans do and unique to us. In this case, I would say things like art. There are some amazing resources for connecting with tech and getting a win with our kids to use tech. Art Hub is one. You can buy a subscription, or you can just go on YouTube and you can actually find their videos that they've posted. These aren't like stolen. Henry and Owen both love these. I actually was super surprised because art is not something that has ever been really a part of my life. Like I don't like turn to music to like get my emotions, like channeled. I don't really create music or art per se, unless you consider these podcasts art, then thank you. We can call it art. Like I've been to a modernist museum before, but that isn't just something like I go to naturally. I'm not drawn to it. I've never been good at it, and both boys love it. They will draw and they will color it and they will put them up and be proud and send them to neighbors to say that they're hoping they're feeling better, and right, like they are able to connect, and we're able to then have that be like, look, you put effort into this, and now we're going to give that to someone to let them know you were thinking about them. Like that's a powerful way to encourage people. And that gave us a great little talking point. So we would encourage the Art Hub. It's on YouTube. They're going to be looking at a screen, but it's the pace of real life. The guy on it and his son do it, which is super fun. The kids kind of get that visual of, it just speaks really well to them that this is a parent and a kid, and this is kind of what I'm doing with my parent. Another option would be radish kits. You've seen those maybe on social media or whatever, but basically you're buying a do-it-yourself baking project. It comes with all the things they need. And those are really fun. They're really simple. You can certainly do it on your own, but if you're intimidated, it's kind of like effectively the male version of like the mailed version, MAILED, of the cookies in a jar, right? Like it just comes with all the ingredients and you like mix it together with an egg and like bake it, or whatever version of the food you purchased. But they are really fun. And my personal favorite is find a project in the house that the kids can help with. Go on YouTube, grab a do-it-yourself project. Owen and I pulled apart the dryer because Owen's brain is organized and he wanted to see how stuff worked. We were trying to figure out why it wasn't drying. Turns out I had it pushed too close to the wall, so there was no exit air vent going on. It was just spinning the same air in a circle. Things don't dry when you do that. So we learned. Owen loved it. He got to run the vacuum while we were in there. And those are ways we can acquire a win as we build skill and mastery using this technology as kind of one of our educational tools. It is a fine tool. It's a wonderful way. I would never encourage someone to only watch videos if they want to know how to swim. At some point, you actually have to go out and do it. But before you just jump in, it's wonderful to help you kind of know the highs and lows and some strategies for how to learn quickly. A fourth tech win you can get is to help cultivate on the created world. We talk about all the time throughout Scripture, where we talk about how God's glory is evident in creation. It is just a general grace to us that we recognize that this world is amazing, that it is unique in the universe. We do not know of any other life forms out there. We do not know of any other planets sustaining life, or capable of sustaining life. And the ones that can, we're like, oh, it's super close. It's only like 20,000 light years away. The universe, the sheer size of it is amazing. The sheer microcosm of it, when you look down to the smallest specks of creation that we know of quartz and dark matter, and everything in between is amazing. So we can show our kids some of that. I don't know about you guys, but I know that Miss Frizzle has become the science teacher in our household currently, and that is something that is great. We don't want it to go too overboard, but the old school Magic School Bus is awesome. I haven't watched the new one, so I can't speak to it, but I can speak old school Magic School Bus. I think I've watched the 4 seasons that are on whatever it's on, Amazon Prime or Netflix or whatever it's on, and they're great. I think there was one that I'd be like, all right, like that's fine. I probably wouldn't show that one again, but they're awesome. Like they're pretty straight on and they're not wildly overstimulating. They're zany and kooky, but the science in it as far as like how the blood flows and like how do your lungs get oxygen to your blood, like all the volcanoes and sciencey parts do draw us to the way the world works and the way God has designed and created us and the things around us. Wildcrafts would fall in the same category, right? It can be a win to watch that with our kids, and it's 20 minutes, talks about animals, it kind of talks about like animal superpowers, like how are these animals unique and amazing in the environment that they're in, which is super cool. And then the old school Planet Earth, 2006 version, BBC's Planet Earth, which is just 4K beauty all over the world, from the jungles of South America to the plains of southern and central Africa, and then all over North America and Asia, and some really cool just environments deep underwater, following different specific animals. There's going to be some like spider stuff in there. If you're like Anna, do be warned that there's crazy huge spiders all over the world, so those show up, but not in all of them. Only like 1 or 2 episodes out of, I don't know, 20 maybe. But those you can take in like 15-minute blips and have those conversations with your kids. Get Louis Giglio's Indescribable, the children's devotional, 100 devotionals about how God made us and the world and the universe, and how that shows God's care for us and the uniqueness of us, and also how small and frail we are compared to just the vastness of detail and physics and creation. And that should blow us away, and we can use tech to help us. We are not getting less amazed. Like, go to the farthest reaches. Go follow Hubble and the NASA space program, right? They are not a Christian organization, but they are blown away at the size and the precision and the beauty of the universe and the galaxy. And we shouldn't miss out on that. So use tech to get amazed by this world, by our Creator, and by the incredible place we do live in. And heck, study COVID-19, because it's incredible if you're not sick with it. Like, just this concept of this living virus as it adapts and as it molds itself to do what it's going to do for survival, in the way we are so susceptible without God's amazing grace to not let us be overrun entirely by these things. So we do recognize the beauty in that, and then the science that comes from it, and the way God uses that to make things like vaccines and doctors that can care for us. And the final one is to use it with intention and care. And with this, some of us are recognizing, man, like, I know that that's a good concept, but I am struggling to use my technology intentionally and to use it with care. So this is not to say, man, I've got this nailed down and you need to do better. This is no shame in here, but we do need to talk about, like I said, Miss Frizzle's kind of running science in my class now, or in my home now. I can very quickly look for ways to offload my children and say, all right, Daddy's tired. Daddy's got to go work, right? Today was like a crazy day because Hadley didn't nap at the same time as the boys took their like quiet breaks. And so my work day got split into chunks because they come running into my office. So we have the reality. Shows are there. Technology is there. It's going to look different than it looks when we have access to friends and society and outdoors. Oh, yeah, if you're not living in Washington, it's also 37 and sleeting like for the last 2.5 weeks. So we had 4 or so good days at the beginning, and it's been steeply downhill. So brass tacks, what can we do to reel in some of our tech and get some of these wins so that we don't just have to answer, when can I use tech? When can I use tech? When can I use tech? Can I use it now? Can I keep using it? Or feel bad that we're somehow losing this fight and we're being a bad influence. So first one comes out of Greg McKeown's book, Essentialism. He talks about this token system, and the idea is beautiful. I love this. So you give 10 tokens at the beginning of a week to your kids. You say, hey, every token is going to be worth 30 minutes of screen time or 50 cents. So at the end of the week, you can either have spent your 10 tokens and watched 10, 30-minute chunks of technology, right? Whether that's a show or a game or whatever you guys agree on. Or you can get $5 at the end of a week. So this is a trade-off investment here. Then there's the addition to, all right, if you want more tokens, you can read 30 minutes and you'll get an additional token. And this is, I'm going to add a piece to that because growing up, I had a similar system with my dad, but to read the Bible would double your time. And now that might feel weird. You can choose or not to do this, but I can tell you there are things I remember about the Bible from those sessions of reading that went up into my junior high years. This offer was on the table. Video games were very motivating to me. Money was not. So I was always trying to earn more video game time, which in another conversation we might talk about whether that's healthy, but I'll say this. In this season of extremes where we are looking for measures to help our kids use tech and not let it use them, a system of tokens where we are giving them that kind of love and logic educational format for a conversation where we say, hey, here's 2 choices. You get to pick. You can use this for income or you can use this for your tech time. Make the value judgment. And if you need more, read for 30 minutes in a public place, not just take a nap with a book and say that you did it, but sit out here and read. And after 30 minutes, you can get another token. If you read your Bible for 30 minutes, you can get 2. It is getting the Word of God into them. It is a process that will help them ask some questions about what they are reading. Obviously, they need to be old enough to be able to do that. So if you have a 4-year-old, you may have to think of another option. Maybe they do chores for 30 minutes or something. But that idea of they get to then earn more tokens for tech time, and it is offsetting instead of just pure consumption and pure kind of like, well, we kind of lost the battle, so we'll just give it in, right? We dropped our phones, so now I'm just going to spike it on the ground and really finish it off. No, like it's okay. Like we've made some choices so far, and if we don't like them, we can adjust. So I love this idea, the 30 minutes. So then at the end of a week, they'd either have $5 or 5 hours of tech time. Maybe you want to give them 12 tokens. Like it's your family. You can make that decision to add up to what you want. But I love that idea, and I personally would say, in my experience, adding the Bible at double does motivate to read more of the Bible. If it's I've been reading a lot of something else, I want more tech time, it's a wonderful way to get there. And the Lord's word does not return void. So just an idea to plant there. Another idea comes out of Sarah McKenzie from Read Aloud Revival. She had a book, The Read Aloud Family, and her strategy was this idea of making tech wait for us. Her concept of that is setting a time in the day that your tech is going to be used. There's 2 really great outcomes from this. The first is you're not going to get peppered by, can I play that game? Can I watch this show? Can I do it now? Can I do it again? Can I do it still? You're going to have a preset expectation of, hey, our tech time is going to be, and it would look different during a school day versus being an at-home school day, but maybe you're going to say, hey, from 10 to 11 and from 2 to 3, or from 2 to 3 and 7 to 8, or whatever your time is going to be. You're going to set your time. This is when you get to watch your show, spend your tokens, do your thing, right? Like you can merge those 2 systems if you want, or use them separately. I really like this because when you're not on tech then, so the first benefit is you're not going to get peppered. They already know this is my tech time. I'm going to wait for that. Tech should always wait for us. The second piece is when they're not during tech time, when it's not during the selected tech window, then the tech needs to be away. So if we get the little tap of, hey, I should go check that phone, usually that's not because I have anything to do. It's because I'm bored and I want something to kind of take my mind off it. And if I'm sitting on my couch and I start patting my pockets looking for my cell phone and then realize, oh, that's right, it's upstairs, I often don't go upstairs. Like 90% of the time, I'm not going to go upstairs. I didn't need it. I just was bored and I wanted something to do for 45 seconds. Instead, I'll probably stare into space for a minute and then get up and do what I would have done anyway. And it is this separation where I don't have to go scratch that itch, right? I can just let it sit and go, no, I don't need my phone right now. It's not actually an important trivia question that I have in my brain, right? I can just move along with the rest of my life and not give in to that. And I do love that making tech wait. Pick that window of our day. So the first way we can kind of reclaim the intentionality of tech and get a tech win is that token system. The second is picking a window in our day. This is going to be, and you can choose when those windows are and how big they are. Generally, we're saying no more than 2 hours a day for entertainment tech. So, and that comes from family psychologists who are saying 2 hours a day. If you're needing it more than that, you're probably needing it too much. We know at 2 hours is when some of the negative impacts of drool tech, like anxiety and depression, can start showing up in some young people. So we want to keep it under 2 hours a day if we can. That doesn't include doing schoolwork and being productive and art hub and things that are interactive where they're creating using it. If your kid's recording music, right, and they're playing music into a computer or drawing with art into their computer, that isn't included in those 2 hours. But that idea is a nice idea to set that time. And while we're setting our tech time, we should probably also set our time to do other activities. The final one is let's go straight with like elementary school sticker boards, right? Reward that progress. You can fill a thermometer. There's something powerful about seeing a goal become completed. So you can say, hey, this week we want to try to read X number of books or whatever it is for you, X number of hours, and fill it in as you go so you can see it. And at the end, when that thermometer's full, when the sticker chart is filled, when you cross this line in the jar for the number of fuzzies you've put in there, then we're going to go get this reward, right? Whatever that would be for you guys. Maybe you have Safeway drop ice cream off at your house and you do it, right? Or you go and get Chick-fil-A if you're comfortable eating food that someone else prepared. Whatever that is for your family, you can have that reward so that it just doesn't feel like the exact same day on loop, right? I think many of us have had the Groundhog's Day experience already, where you wake up and you're like, oh, it's the exact same day. Like today is the exact same day as yesterday, same house, same people, same walls, same gray sky. Like it's the same thing on loop. And it helps us kind of see some of the progress of days so that we can remember that this has to be about more than just reclaiming the time, about staying safe and healthy. This is really about using the days we've been given, right? We have been given these days to love others, to encourage our kids. And at the end of it, we don't just want to say we survived. We do want to say we survived, but not just that we survived. We want to be able to say that we used everything God gave us, right? We don't want to be the servant who was given the talent and who buried it because, man, God's hard, right? And he asked too much of us. We want to make sure we are available and we're investing where we can. Sometimes we can use tech to do that. Sometimes our tech is a distraction and we need to reclaim it and refocus it. And we talked about a few ways to do that. And one way to do that is that wonderful system of rewarding. So as we look at this third going on fourth week of quarantine. We look at weeks to come where it appears to be very similar. It can be overwhelming. We can kind of want to give up and give in to this sense of, man, I just want to make it through. And as long as I make it to bedtime tonight, I'll be fine. And I get that. That is a reality. We are there regularly. Please don't hear me saying if you're there, you're in a bad spot. I would say I don't want you to stay there. I believe that we are being given an opportunity to even use the technology that might be distracting us for reclaiming some of this time. I want us to be living for more than just bedtime when we can feel like we can at least get through to tomorrow. That is a survival strategy. It does work in these really hard seasons, and you may be in even a worse one depending where your family's at and what's going on health-wise. But I want to recognize that there are ways we can even use this tech. We can use our tech to create real relationships and experiences. We can reach out to others and bring hope into their lives if they're shut in because they have a really high risk for infection, or if they are recovering from a surgery, or if they're like our family friend who got injured but is considered a selective surgery, so she can't walk, but she also can't get surgery to fix it. So that's a way we can use technology then to encourage those people, or even to get other people to bring meals, right? We can do those things. We can start great conversations and be committed in those relationships. We can acquire those skills and mastery, especially including our kids in that, be that a do-it-yourself project or something that they can be great in and be excited about. We can cultivate awe. There's some amazing resources out there to do that. And we can be intentional. We can set up systems like the tokens, or making tech wait for us, or even a reward kind of family journey that we can be on. But at the end of the day, we need to recognize that we remember that the reason we are able to love others and the reason we have hope in this is because God loves us and has given up his son Jesus for us, who is raised to life so that we can have life with him, life that starts today, that we're saved for good works. Today, even when we can't see people in person, we can still be an encouragement. We can still be praying. We can give online. We can go and serve in the ways that are safe for our family and our situation that God lays in our heart. Maybe it's making face masks for the local hospital. Maybe it's making signs. Maybe it's showing up for one of those prayer sessions and worship sessions outside the hospital. Saw a local church doing that on Wednesday, which is amazing, right? To encourage those staff members. I have a family member who's a firefighter in a local city, and he said, man, the firehouses are dark right now. It was cute for the first couple of weeks. We had a lot of adrenaline, and now it's just heavy. And people are struggling, and their families are struggling, and their marriages are struggling. And we want to be people who are present for them, so we can use tech to do that. And we can be an encouragement to others, and we can use the encouraging things from the interwebs to encourage others and point them back to the truth of the gospel and the truth that we are filled with God's Holy Spirit so that we can love others and, point them back to him. So I hope this was encouraging to you. I hope that resonates as something that is helpful in a season of kind of maybe run amok technology and some of the guilt that goes with that needlessly. We just feel bad because it's tech and we feel like tech is bad. It's not. Tech is not bad. And if it's unhealthy in a spot where it's distracting us, we can reclaim that with some amazing opportunities. So thank you for listening. Would you please remember, if this was helpful to you, to rate and review it. Leave the actual words. Just write one sentence. That's huge for us, and it helps other people find us. If you need to reach out with any questions or comments, you can direct message me at Flint and Iron on Instagram, or at Sparking Purpose on Facebook, or you can reach me at nathan@flintandiron.org. For more resources, go flintandiron.org/parent resources, where you'll find blog posts and other info that'll be helpful, hopefully, some reviews, some stuff on video games, and on that idea of a reset. How do we know if our tech is healthy? Again, join us on Thursday, this Thursday, April 9th, to have a live Instagram conversation about how do I know if my kid's tech use is healthy. That will spiral, I'm sure, into more conversations in the future, so I'll keep you posted. And until then, thank you so much for listening and being a part of this. We are so blessed to have you guys be in on this conversation and helping us help others love God and use tech.